Welcome to Stump the Pastor. This is our 12th edition. And today's question comes from John in Birmingham. And his question is a two-parter. He says, who is the better Christian? A, the person who tries to follow the example of Christ, loving their neighbor, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, so on, but doesn't believe in some of the basic tenets, things like maybe virgin birth or walking on water, physical resurrection? Or is it B, the person who believes in all those kind of basic tenets, those miracles and things like that, but is mean to their neighbor, cheats in business, hates the stranger and the downtrodden, and castigates those who don't believe the same way? So who between those two are the better Christian, John is asking. Well, first you should know that John is a member of my congregation, and I appreciate his question. Now, the essence of this question is kind of following what's going on in our world right now. It seems to be a clear-cut question, since our current culture often requires us to take sides in almost all questions that come up. Here are some examples from the current headlines. If you believe that Black Lives Matters, then that must mean you hate police officers. Or if you wear a mask in public right now during the COVID pandemic, it means you are a Democrat. Now, if you're like me, you might wonder who gets to set these rules and why do we let them? But the reason these dichotomies persist is there appears to be some dissonance between belief and action. Or another way to put it is, when we say we believe something, do we expect all of us to have the same outcomes as a result of that belief? Now, John's question gets at one of the gnarliest stumbling blocks in Christian assumptions. Do our beliefs change us, or do we adjust our assumptions about how we believe to allow our attitudes and worldview to remain static? Now, I come from a theological perspective that inviting Jesus into my heart, that is affirming myself as a Christian, actually changes who I am. Now, some of the changes happen right away, but other changes often take a while. And I have found that the ones that take a while are the most ingrained values that often are not even conscious sometimes. Like, why do I feel comfortable around some people and not others? Or why do I tend to agree with certain opinions and not others without even thinking? So why do I have the filters that I use to see my world? You know, it sometimes takes something like a conversion experience to make us notice how much about who we are and how we see the world that we didn't even know we held. The hardest thing to change about ourselves are the things that we don't know why we believe, and the things that will be costly to change. So in my own spiritual journey, I am a lifelong churchgoer, and growing up, church was pretty boring and out of touch to me as a youngster. Now don't get me wrong, the church of my childhood was full of lovely people who were a wonderful community of people. It was just religion didn't seem to challenge me then from my child's point of view. But later in my life, when I actually invited Jesus into my heart as a teenager, a series of layers began to slowly fall away. I made the connection between what I believe and what I do, between inner contemplation and making the world a better place for all of us. Now, this was a long process for me. Some people seem to catch on right away, and that wasn't how it worked for me. Maybe I had different issues to sort out. But John's question asks us about the integrity of what we believe and then what we do with our belief. The deeper I go into my faith, the more I see that the things I learn, the traditions I follow, the ways that I value are more and more becoming aligned with a journey toward wholeness and not simply following some rules. Now, it's not an easy process. In fact, for me, it is taking a lifetime. I know it is difficult to see Christians using their faith in hateful ways. I will speak out against incongruence whenever I can. But I speak out not to demean the clueless, but to stand with the powerless. That to me seems to be what Jesus did. He challenged power used against the vulnerable to benefit the powerful, in individual actions and in the powerful structures we set up to govern our cities and nations. So, what I would have to say is, in answer to John's question, what we believe matters, and how we live it out matters. If the two are congruous, they work in tangent, they help it make the world a better place, then those beliefs, I believe, are following the ways of Jesus. So, John, thank you for your question. I hope it is the kind of question that every Christian will find a way to ask oneself. And don't be surprised if your answers begin to change over time. See you next week on Stump the Pastor. Well, there you go, John. I hope I answered your question in a way that made sense. And if any of you have questions that you think you want to ask, send them to me at Stump the Pastor. My email address is on the bottom of your screen. See you next time on Stump the Pastor.